All right, it's Algebra 2. Welcome to your second video for the 6164 game plan here. We are on page 11, section 6.3, folks. We have the generic function f of x is equal to the square root of x. Again, this is going to serve as a video for those that have missed class. I do plan on going over this in class together. So what values of x can this function have? So I've gone over here to Desmos, the square root of x. It has been graphed. We can see that the graph starts at 0, 0, the origin. Folks, we know that we can have we can put the square root of 0 into our calculator. Square root of 0 is 0. Square root of a negative number, that gives us I, and we are not in a position where we can graph that yet. So what values of x can this function have is 0 or greater. Now I plugged 0 in for x. Plugged 1 in for x, 4 in for x, and 9 in for x because the square root of those numbers are 0, 1, 2, and 3. All right? So my graph would look like that. Again, Desmos is going to look a little bit better. This is the generic root square root function. The domain, remember, the domain is the set of all the x values. In this case, x can be anything 0 or more, and the range is the set of all the y values that a function can have, and in this case, the range would be y greater than or equal to 0. So first off, when I have a positive root function, the graph's going to go up like that. All right? And I have a positive x on the inside, my graph's going to go up like that. And that's what I have here on 1 and 2. This is a positive, and that's positive. So what we do here to identify the domain and range, we're not going to graph these this year, we might do that next year. All right, is I asked myself what value of x would kind of serve here as either the lowest or the highest x that I can, the smallest or the largest x I can plug in there. So again, the transition here where it starts is square root of 0. So square root of 0, think of that as the border. I set x minus, I take x minus 7, I set it equal to 0. All right, so when x is 7, I take what is inside the square root and I set it equal to 0. That's what I did up here. I get, so I get x is 7. Now I ask myself, am I allowed to plug values of x that are greater than 7 or less than 7? If I say less than 7, well, I plug 6 in for x. Get the square root of -1, and that's not okay. If I plug in 8, I get the square root of 1, and that's okay. So my domain is going to be x greater than or equal to 7. All right, I can plug any number 7 or more. Now here's what's going on. This number is always involved with the range. Okay, so I can always write y in 2. It's either the smallest or the largest y value I can have. If I plug 7 in for x, I get the square root of 0, which is 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. Okay, that's why I have 2 there. If I plug 8 in for x, I get the square root of 1, which is 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, and 3 is bigger than 2. So my range is going to be y greater than or equal to 2. And over here, folks, I will show that on Desmos. I'm only going to use this for a few graphs here. All right, so in blue is that second graph. Notice that it's starting when x is 7, and the y value starts with is 2, and it's slowly creeping upward. Okay, in blue, that's what we got on our paper. All right, so let's take a look at number 2 here. More of your notes. I have the square root of x plus 1 minus 3. So again, I take what is inside the square root, x plus 1. I set it equal to 0. If I have a positive x inside the square root, the domain is always going to be x is greater than or equal to some number. In the range, if I have a positive square root function, which means the graph will go up like this, it's always going to be y greater than or equal to some number. All right? And that will continue. I only have, that won't be the case only on 2 of these. So let's do number 3 together. I set what's inside the square root, 2x minus 9 equal to 0, because I'm allowed to take the square root of 0, but not a negative. I get x equals 9 over 2, and that's okay. So my domain will be, x can be anything, 9 over 2 or more. And again, this is a positive root function, so as x gets bigger, y will also get bigger, kind of like that. It's supposed to be tilted to the side, but the range is y greater than or equal to 7. Again, it is staring at you there. Now, got a little something different on number 4. So I'm actually going to get this ready here. You still take 5 minus x and set it equal to 0. Take 5 minus x, set it equal to 0. You get 5. All right. Then when you let x be 5, get the square root of 0. 0 plus 3 is 3. So the domain still involves 5, and the range still involves y. But let's take a look at what's going on here. So I've graphed it here in red, the square roots of 5 minus x plus 3. Take a look at the graph is now going to the left. So as x gets smaller in this case, y still gets bigger. Okay, so the domain is going to be, the range is going to be y greater than or equal to 3. We'll write some rules together in class, all right? But x can't be 6, x can't be 7, x can't be 8, x can't be anything greater than 5, because then you have the square root of a negative. So the range is actually, or the domain is going to be x less than or equal to 5. All right, again, we'll practice a bunch. So just your first notes here. All right, so I'm going to take x minus 9, what is inside the square root. I'm going to set it equal to 0. I get x is 9. And then 6 is involved with the range. So I asked myself, can I plug 8 in for x? Can I plug 10? I'm allowed to plug 10 in. 10 minus 9 is the square root of 1. I can't plug in 8. 8 minus 9 is the square root of negative 1. So that tells me I can plug in values of x that are 9 or bigger, and the range is going to be greater than or equal to 6 again. And that's been the case on the first 5. Let's talk about why number 6 is different. All right, so on 6 here, I'm going to take x minus 4. Don't worry about that negative 3 or anything attached on the outside. You still set what is inside the square root equal to 0. All right, and that is x minus 4. Set it equal to 0. I get x is 4. And again, when x is 4, this is 0. The square root of 0 is still 0. 0 times a negative 3 is still 0. And 0 plus 4 is still 4. So the range involves 4. All right, so let's take a look, though. I've got this graphed on Desmos, this lovely free graphing calculator. What's going on? So looks like x can be anything 4 or more. I'm going to the right, but it looks like 4 is the largest y value. This sucker is now going down. Okay, so this is our first example when I have, and we'll write this again in class, if I have y equals, or f of x equals, the opposite of the square root of x, negative 3, that's the same thing, then my graph's going to go like this. Okay, so it's going to go down. So again, I can have any value of x that is 4 or more, but my range is going to be less than or equal to 4 now. All right. Number 7, I take what's inside the square root. I set it equal to 0. I get 5. That is a positive x on the inside of the square root, so it's going to be greater than or equal to 5 for the domain. Next, as x gets bigger, let's say I plug in 6. I get the square root of 18 minus 15, which is the square root of 3 minus 7, and that's roughly negative 5 point something, which is greater than negative 7. So the domain is, again, y greater than or equal to negative 7. All right, this one's just like 6. I have a negative on the outside of the square root. Negative on the outside of the square root means it's going to be y less than or equal to 5. I have a positive x on the inside of the square root, so the domain is going to be x greater than or equal to negative 1. 9, take a look at 9. It looks exactly like number 4. Sets 10 minus 2x equal to 0. You get x is 5. And the range involves 2. Again, if I plug 6 in for x, which is greater than 5, I get the square root of negative 2, which is no bueno. So my domain is x less than or equal to 5. If you have a negative x on the inside of the square root, then the domain has to be x less than or equal to some number. All right, again, this is an overall positive root function. There's no negative on the outside, so my range will always be greater than or equal, y greater than or equal to some number in those cases. All right, so here we go. Page 12, hashtag game time. I'm going to do some of these with you. Set x minus 3 equal to 0. You get x is 3. Again, this is a positive x on the inside, so it's greater than or equal to 3. And overall, this is a positive root x, so greater than or equal to 4 for the range. Number 3, set x plus 6 equal to 0. You get x is negative 6. This is a positive x on the inside of the root, so it's x greater than or equal to negative 6. This is a negative square root function, negative square root of x, so the range is y less than or equal to 8. And then I do 4, 5, and 6 with you. Set 2x plus 8 equal to 0. You get x is negative 4. Is a positive x on the inside of the square root, so x greater than or equal to negative 4. Overall, this is a positive square root of x. Y